Hello again, Commanders! Welcome to another episode of Testing Ground, where we take your wildest, most explosive ideas and put them to the test. In today's episode, we'll be trying to get the Bombardier medal using the least effective HE shells, epically detonate 30 ammo racks simultaneously, and measure the highway map by enlisting the help of a TOG II. Let's get started. If you're a fan of playing an arty or tanks such as the KV-2 or the FV-4005, then you probably already have at least one Bombardier medal. This medal is given for destroying 2 or more enemies with one shell. Let's see if it's possible to get the Bombardier medal with the least effective HE shells in the game. For our first test, we'll be using a Swedish TD with only 10mm worth of HE shell penetration. Our first victims this episode are 2 Lloyd gun carriages with barely any armor. That's just what we need. Next, we'll position our target sideways and move them close to the wall. The SPG's target is right in the gap between them. Realistically, the splash from the HE shell explosion will destroy both victims simultaneously. Let's see what happens. The tank destroyer fired a lot of shells, but for little effect. The Lloyds are undamaged, so let's try something else. This time, we'll load up some slightly better HE shells onto a German light tank's machine gun. Unfortunately, the German tank fares no better. Looks like we'll have to up the ante. Presenting the final ace up our sleeve, the Merciless Slayer 1. The gun's 19mm of penetration and the shell's burst radius should be good enough. If you've seen our previous episodes of Testing Ground, you'll know that this tank has done some pretty cool stuff. Let's see if it can pull it off. And boom! Just enough power to send them to the scrap heap. With a little luck and some serious skill, even an MS-1 can earn the Bombardier medal in a random battle. This little guy never fails to disappoint. Click on the like button to support our outstanding MS-1. On to the next test. Double-barreled tanks are a fan favorite, and for a very good reason. Putting it simply, the impact of twice the firepower at the right point will send the enemy's turret flying. But this is Testing Ground, and that means explosions. And not just a few. This episode we're aiming for 30. That's right, 30 explosions. And we'll be attempting to do this by detonating 30 ammo racks at the same time. How is this crazy experiment going to work? To start things off, we'll arrange 30 mouses in columns of 15 vehicles, and pair each of them against an opposing double-barreled tank. It's easy enough to get things set up. Now comes the tricky part. We need every single ST2 to be perfectly aimed at every ammo rack and to shoot at exactly the same time. Checking the math, that means 90,000 damage per second. Why are we testing this theory? First, we need to figure out whether this experiment is even possible or not. Second, this is an opportunity to set a new record. So, let's begin. Our first attempt was a little disappointing, blowing up only 2 turrets. We're trying to set a new record with this experiment after all. So, we'll give it another shot. For the second attempt, we only hit 3 tanks. That's only 1 better than the last time. So far, no matter how many times we try, it looks like this experiment is turning into a bust. It looks like you can't reliably detonate a mouse's ammo rack at full HP, and the likelihood of blowing up 30 of them is virtually zero. It's unfortunate because that would be quite the fireworks show. So far, we're 1-1. Let's try for another win on this next experiment. Anyone familiar with the highway map will tell you just how massive this map truly is. And it's hard to argue, how big is it? We could take the easy way out and measure the distance edge to edge in kilometers. But this is testing ground, and we want to answer one question. How many TOG IIs does it take to go from one end of the highway map to the other? This all sounds complicated. Originally, our plan was to take 30 TOG IIs for our experiment. But it turns out they're quite rare, so we could only scrounge up 2 vehicles. 2 is still more than 0, so let's start measuring the map. Our first TOG II charges forward with the other close behind, as they both assume the same position. We'll need to repeat this a lot. It took us a solid half an hour, but we were able to cover the entire map and go the distance. Let's take a look at the results. If we fast forward, you probably couldn't make out the exact number of TOG IIs we needed for this experiment. After reviewing the footage, it appears that 101.5 TOG IIs are needed to measure all of the highway map. That's it for this episode of Testing Ground. If you have any crazy and cool ideas for other experiments you'd like to see covered in Testing Ground, let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be instantly notified of the next episode. See you soon.